inevitably, part of needing the funds is to scale, to get moving on the operations side. But let's start there. Like, what is it you want to do in the first instance, Zach?
Yeah, well, we really want to scale energy infrastructure to meet rising demand for power. So we build a hardware product that we install on homes, and we leverage, it's a home battery that we design and manufacture ourselves. And we leverage those batteries to support the grid in times of high demand. So we're adding capacity to the system to meet this rising demand from AI, electrification of heavy industry, of transportation. We're adding capacity to the system through distributed batteries. The grid is able to use those batteries when demand is high, and the homeowners that have those batteries installed on their home are able to leverage those batteries when the grid goes out.
Zach, this is a residential product, right, at the basic level. How tied is your fate and future to the adoption of solar in this country?
Not really at all. Solar is a generation technology, much like wind or gas or coal. And batteries are really more akin to a transmission and distribution technology. So the way to think about it is that poles and wires move energy through space, and batteries move energy through time. And so the battery is really a utilization tool that is helping increase the capacity factor of the system and bring down costs for everybody.
So I ask you that because the energy or electricity generation isn't the problem here. What is the problem that the base power is trying to solve for?
Yeah, we've got a utilization problem on the grid today. So the grid is really built for peak demand, which means that most of the time we're not utilizing all of the infrastructure, which ends up being very expensive for ratepayers or consumers of electricity. So by deploying batteries to the edge of the grid, you're able to increase the utilization, increase the capacity factor, and thereby lower costs for consumers.
At home, I have a Tesla Powerwall 3. It does rely on solar to charge it during the daytime. But let's talk about that as a comparison or a case study at the technology level. The base core is better how? Is different how?
It's really designed to be a grid resource. So it's almost maybe over 3 times the size. It's installed much faster. It's actually owned and operated by us, the company Base Power, and used as a grid resource. So when you go buy a home battery or a home generator, it's owned by the homeowner, and it's really only there when the grid goes out. Our asset is really a piece of grid infrastructure. And so in partnership with some of our utility partners, those batteries are used as a grid resource by the utility in times of high demand, like I mentioned earlier. And then in the deregulated markets in Texas and Illinois, where we operate, we use those batteries as a wholesale power asset. So we're really operating a fleet of infrastructure, whereas those companies that sell batteries or generators, they're just trying to sell high margin hardware up front. And our view is that batteries are really an infrastructure asset, and they're better sold and built kind of as such, right? And not really as a high margin product.
Zach, I also feel like this is a Texas story from the manufacturing standpoint, right? You know, this is going to be an American-built technology. What were the challenges in establishing Texas as the base, the supply chain, making this an economically viable plan?
Well, Texas is a fantastic place to build companies and also to establish manufacturing. And we see actually huge advantages in co-locating engineering and manufacturing, because the team that designs the product needs to be able to be very close to the team that builds the product. And so by coupling engineering and manufacturing and having that done by one team, one company, and one location, you get a bunch of efficiencies. It is much easier to iterate, and you can move a lot faster.
Should we talk about some of your investors in the round? What was the importance of assembling that group beyond just the checks that came in? What are you hoping to leverage from their experiences and their expertise? We're showing Ribbit, Coatue, Valor, Altimeter, Sands Capital, D1.
Yeah, I mean, we're building the company to compound over many decades, and we want to establish a cap table that is aligned with that kind of long-term thinking. So these investors who joined our cap table today and that who've been investing with us now for a couple of rounds, they see the opportunity to scale the business across the US, internationally, and do that over a long period of time. And they add a lot of interesting insights, perspectives, and they're really our thought partners and our operating partners day to day. So we're super lucky to have a whole host of new investors joining the cap table, and then basically all of our major existing investors reinvesting in the company.
Earlier in the program, we had Valor Atomic CEO Isaiah Taylor on, different part of the energy stack, but we talked about how is America doing in this domain, right? We talk a lot about China, how quickly China moves. I guess at the nation level and at the federal level, are you getting everything you need, Zach, to be able to execute in the way you want, get the regulatory support?
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of energy being applied, no pun intended, to the space today, whether that's from the regulators, the policy makers, but also entrepreneurs like our team at Base and the folks you mentioned earlier, some of the other companies entering the space. I mean, when we started Base 3 years ago, it was kind of unique to start an energy technology company. There were not a lot of those out there. And now they're very common, and you see them pop up all the time. And we love that. We think that the industry needs more great entrepreneurs and teams solving hard problems and helping us scale our capacity to consume electricity in this country. So I think we're in a really good spot, and we just got to keep executing relentlessly and building great solutions to some of these hard problems in the energy industry.
You're building across the electric stack, and I kind of like read a lot about you and think you're pitching yourselves as like a next generation utility almost. And I think we should end the conversation with, like, what is your relationship like with the existing utilities, with the rest of the grid? Because you're all kind of trying to move together in the same direction.
Yeah, I wouldn't think of us really as a next generation utility. I would think of us as a modern energy technology company that is a provider of choice to the utilities to scale their infrastructure. So we work very closely with utilities, with all kinds of utilities, with municipal utilities like Austin Energy, with co-ops like CoServe and GVEC, with investor-owned utilities like El Paso Electric, and we build them technology solutions so they can scale their infrastructure and meet the moment, meet the rising demand that's coming from AI and all these things that you discuss all the time. There's an incredible inflection happening in energy consumption in America, and it's never been more important for the utilities to kind of step up and adapt, and we are really helping them do that. And it's our honor to work with the utilities. They're incredible partners, and they have a huge responsibility in this coming decade, and we're really excited to partner with them.
Zach, very quickly, what's it like trying to hire right now, the talent you need?
Look, I think that we have an incredibly mission-driven culture and company, and there's a lot of people out there, hopefully some of them are watching this show, that feel strongly that scaling our capacity to consume electricity and really driving towards energy abundance on the path to human prosperity is one of the most uplifting and exciting missions that you can work on. And so we've had the great fortune of having tons of the best engineers in the world come to Base and say, hey, this is a mission I've got to be a part of. And so we've had a really great time, frankly, building out an incredible team down in Austin of just very mission-aligned individuals. And we're excited to continue to grow that team as we continue to scale the business.